You are listening to Spark, a Conversation, a podcast powered by Delta College employees and community members committed to protecting and uplifting the most vulnerable students in our community. Because education in California means education for all. I'm your host for today, Leo Marquez, and today's episode airs on a day of national protest. Sick of ICE, call out sick. We know the power of proactive advocacy. That's why SPARK, which stands for Student Protection for Advocacy, Resources, and Knowledge, was created. It's an employee and community coalition working together to ensure that institutional policies and practices protect all students, especially those facing systemic attacks, which have specifically been focused on immigration and LGBTQ+ populations. We face legislative changes almost daily, many of which are detrimental to our student population. Today, we'll talk about why the work of SPARK matters more than ever. So let's get into it. So we're going to get right into it. But first, we're going to introduce the guests that I have with me here, because I'm not in this alone, and this is definitely a collective that is brought together to do the work that we're doing. So first, let's start here, and we'll make our way around. So Adriana, will you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, Leo. Hello, everybody. My name is Adriana Broger, as Leo said, Adriana. I am a professor of digital media here at Delta College, and I am a grateful member of the community. I was a Delta student. I come from my mother came to Delta College. My children have come to Delta College. So this is a place I love to be here, and I'm happy to be in this conversation with you all.
And hi, I'm Dr. Heather Malloy, and I am with the San Joaquin Adult Education Collaborative, or San Joaquin Adult Education Consortium. And I serve here as the project manager for San Joaquin Adult Education Consortium. And in that role, I serve 8 school districts in the San Joaquin County, Calaveras County, and Rio Vista, and specifically our adult school students, and helping and assisting them through transitional services, whether it's to college, to career, or to kind of any kind of type of community services. And with that, just a little bit of a background for myself. I've been in my role for about almost 10 years. However, I've been at Delta since 2002. I haven't left since I started here when I was, I graduated in 2004. I'm an alumni. I'm a Stocktonian. I've served in multiple different roles. Specifically, I worked for several years as an English second language instructor for not only here at San Joaquin Delta College, but also at University of Pacific. I'm a part of this community. This community is my heart, my soul. I live and die by Stockton, and I'm here. I'm excited to share a little bit about what SPARK is about and what's the importance of it, and why we are a part of this entity.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
And then last but not least.
Hi, this is Tina Liao. I am the resource specialist of the Dreamer Success Center. And a little bit about myself is I've been on campus since 2003, the summer of, student worker, all the way up to running the Dreamer Success Center and Stocktonian myself. So passion, love is here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you so much. And I didn't even mention what I do here on campus, but I'm the multimedia coordinator for the digital media department. So I actually work directly with Adriana Broger. And I also do a lot of other things on campus. I'm a part of a employee group called the Delta College Pride Coalition. So we are a collective of LGBTQ+ identifying employees, staff, faculty, managers. We're all a different bunch. And then I also am a board member for the San Joaquin County Pride Center. So we're all a mesh, and we all come from different parts of the college, different cultures, but we come together because we really have this passion to make a difference, especially for our students. So the first thing that we're really going to get into is just talking about what is SPARK and what really prompted the formation of SPARK. So who wants to kind of jump right into that?
I'll go ahead and I'll answer that one. So SPARK Well, one thing, just to give further context, so in addition to digital media, I'm also the co-chair for the Chicanx Latin Faculty Task Force. And that is one of several equity-based task forces that exist on campus. So you've heard Leo is part of DCPC. We also have CAPE, which is our Caucus for Asian Pacific Equity, as well as BASE, which is our focus on Black students. And so these exist, these equity groups exist, all largely, I will say, in response to summer of 2020, our Black Faculty Task Force was the first group of faculty to organize in this way. Then the CLF followed, which is Chicanx Latin Faculty Task Force. And we're comprised of many different members. Actually, each group has its own makeup. Some have staff, some have faculty. CLF is a faculty-based only. And specifically, we also, in terms of our leadership, one of our requirements is that it has to be a tenured faculty member, because while we are open to adjunct and all other folks who want to support the work, we recognize that as tenured professors, we have some protection and some privileges that we can use in order to be very outspoken. And so that's the context with which I will introduce Spark, because it was in conversations with CLF in response to Trump's new appointment. I say appointment because I'm not hiding my politics there. When Trump was newly elected, we were really talking about what implications would this have, not just for us locally, but what does this mean for education? What does this mean for our individual groups of students? And so immediately, right away in November, we were having conversations. What can we do? We had a resolution that passed on December 17th of 2024, which I'm very excited about, very grateful to our Board of Trustees for passing that. And it essentially said we support education for all, right? Which is a reiteration of something that California stands for. And then in January, together with other members of CLF, specifically Professor Marta Villarreal, who is a professor of business and law, we were really in conversation regarding an immigration task force. What would that look like? And in conversation about this task force, we realized that it extends outside of just immigration and really to the fact that this administration is targeting specific vulnerable students. And we thought, okay, this can't just be immigration. And I remember going to Heather and Heather's husband, shout out Sam Malloy as well, because I was playing with different names and different acronyms and what would things stand for. And it was with the collective wonderful people that we really landed on SPARK. And what that stands for is Student Protection for Access, Resources, Knowledge. And so when we came up with that acronym then extended not just immigration, but saying, hey, any student that is feeling like they are targeted. Specifically, we wanted to extend that to include our LGBTQ plus group, specifically transgender students, because there are, let's name it, some folks who are under attack. So I was looking at my notes, and early on, this was January 20th, we were going back and forth, and our president, Aguilera Lawrenson, was in favor of us organizing. So we wrote a charter. So it started as initial conversation, emails, talking. And then like anything, when you have an idea and you really want to move to action, it has to be formalized. And so we wrote a charter, and that charter was passed. And we have since been meeting since early January as a group. And then we felt it was necessary to bring in folks from all our various constituencies. So Tina, obviously, over at our Dreamer Success Center, and having such one-on-one conversations and frontline information and knowledge, that the beauty of this is we all have different levels of conversations and peripheries that we're part of. And so when we come together, it's really powerful. Heather is here at Delta, but so vast with the community-based organizations and the partnerships. So their expertises have really led to the momentum that we have right now. And then clearly, Leo, you know that here, with the work that we do, really in terms of audio, visual communication, social media, we're able to leverage and quickly create things to then move along. But all of this it's not just about, and I know it's students, right? Because our role is here at students. But since we've had this going, one thing that Martha and I were really mindful about was this is not just students. This is also staff.
Yes.
This is also our family members. These are also our administrators, managers, everybody. You don't have to go far to look at who this is impacting. So that's the history of Spark.
Yeah. And like you were saying, like we all come from different places, right? Whether we're aligned with the LGBTQ plus community or the Dreamer Success Center or working with community members. And that really makes such a difference in how we collaborate across departments, across the community. And, it helps us make decisions, right? Because we're working together. So who else is involved in Spark, and how do we go about making those decisions? How do we go about what are we going to move forward with? Talking about like critical things that are happening right now, because things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
It's constant. So
I would answer it's us, Leo.
Right.
It's us. It's individuals. Is if you have an idea, you have something, you can't wait for other people. I think that Spark, the beauty of Spark is that we really are just willing to say what needs to happen and then let's get it done.
Yeah. And I want to add the key players bringing forefront the real talk, not kind of candy coating things. We're seeing things out there and we're just sitting at a table and saying, hey, this is really what's going on. How can we bring this to the table with Spark and have our higher ups, VP and the president look at this and see the concern. And it's been awesome. It's been a lot of movement and it's been beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll say that I think one thing that's really, really extra special about this is that our president, Dr. Lisa Aguilera-Lawrenson, has really taken this seriously. I mean, and all the other members of the executive leadership cabinet, is the fact that they don't and they can't be everywhere. They're not, and so they use us as their eyes and their ears to let us know what exactly is happening on the ground floor with our students, with our community. And so I really appreciate, I feel like this, Spark as it is this a collective? It's, yes, us here in the room, but they're actually listening to us. I feel like we are being
100%.
listened to. They're taking it in, and then their action is happening. Yeah. And I think that's really important. That shows to you, I mean, for me, that this administration gets it. They see the importance of safety, mental health, and especially when it comes to all of our students that are being affected by this administration that we're under. So I'd say I'm just going back to what you said, Adriana, about when this all started, especially after the appointment of our new president. I already saw the ripple effects of how this was going to affect our adult schools and our community members that are supporting our students that are attending the adult schools, those that are undocumented, documented, whatever, but a lot of them that are being they're scared, they're running from fear. I have refugees that are attending the different adult schools depending on the area. I know, for example, in Tracy, there's a large population of Afghani refugees that as soon as, Trump came into administration, they fled. They went into hiding. Same with our other adult schools. I know from, I would say it was January or February, we got a call in one of my meetings about how ICE was already in Rio Vista. And ICE is a very small population. Rio Vista is really small and very community-based, and they were showing up at the schools. And at the time, it was so new, the principal was in the meeting, and she got the call, and she didn't even know what. She was like, okay, we all got it. And so, but what I'm telling you this story for is because we had this group already formed, Spark. I was able to message in Spark right away. We had Martha saying, oh, I know I'm in that community. Let me see how I can come along and help inform the community of what they need to do if ICE comes on. How do we protect this, the students and the parents that are, in those schools?
Absolutely. I love that you just brought that about, because what we're talking about is grassroots mobilization. What we're talking about is directly tied to the reason that Leo is hosting this podcast today, right? So this whole stopice.net that we know is not a one person or two people. It's a grassroots, it's a very decentralized kind of movement of if you see something, you can hop in here, you can report it. And we know that some of the struggle with like these reports is that so many are unconfirmed until unfortunately they're confirmed, right? But if we don't have those networks and if you don't have those pieces of people that like spaces that are defined where you say, okay, we're going to come into this, we're going to have a conversation, we're going to try to support each other, right? All of that solidarity really, really does come from a grassroots network of people willing to support. And as you stated, Heather, here we're talking about Spark today. And Spark would be just an underground kind of idea if it weren't for the administrative leadership to say, yes, we agree, this should be a charter. So now we are a charter, we're organized. Anybody on campus can support the work. We want to have more formal relationships with students informing what we're doing. And we really are, I think, this summer kicking off some of the momentum with the events being held in the Dreamer Success Center.
We're going to take a pause in our conversation for a quick PSA break, and we'll be right back.
Translating to bridge in Spanish, Puente is Delta's long-standing equity and nationally award-winning program geared towards helping students succeed in higher education. This transfer-focused program focuses on Latino literature and experience and provides students with a personal counselor, mentor, cultural activities, and educational field trips alongside their classroom familia. The program also accepts alumni and college graduates to apply as mentors to current Puente cohorts. To learn more, visit deltacollege.edu/department/Puente-program.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Remain focused on what you're doing. If safe to do so, exhale slowly, leaning to one side. Inhale back to center. If safe to do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Here at San Joaquin Delta College, we support you in pursuit of your educational achievements. A college education can provide more options for the future, but sometimes these options are, confusing. We are here to make the journey a little easier with comprehensive counseling services. Looking for help selecting the right courses for your degree? Need advice on different career paths? Are you in need of professional, emotional, or psychological support? Our counselors are here to provide as much guidance and support as you need during your academic journey. If you want to schedule a counseling appointment, call 209-954-5151. By scheduling a counseling appointment, you acknowledge that all counselors are mandated reporters who are bound by law to report harm to self or others and/or child or elder abuse. Remember, you are not alone. We are in this together.
This message is for Shauna, my mom, who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Let's get right back into the conversation.
Yeah. And some of those events with, posters and protests, and then our wellness event where we're just really talking about, how we could support those that can't or don't feel safe to go out and stand in solidarity or, march. We get to all sit together and be that for the students. So it's been beautiful work. And I got to say, I sit on a couple of correlation meetings and
Collaborative meetings.
Sit on a lot of collaborative meetings, and I'm happy to say that with Spark, Delta's ahead of the game. Like, we are doing great work here at Delta College. And when I sit in these groups and we're collaborating and we say Delta did X, Y, and Z, they're like, how did you guys form that? How did you guys come together and get that done? And I'm happy to say Sparks started that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you're great, Leo. No, I was just going to say to Tina's point that there are often times when we're in the work and the work feels so heavy. It feels like this is so much. And you think, we're not moving fast enough, right? How many of us feel that? We feel that all the time. But then, and you're absolutely right, to then reflect back and say, wait a minute. We have a charter. We have this thing. We are in conversation. We don't have all the solutions, right? And I think that even from our president's level, she's been very clear to say, in the Equity Action Task Force, in Spark, we're doing this and we're planning, we're working on things, because we're also living in a time where we haven't had to have these conversations before. So it's not like there is a playbook or here's what you're supposed to do. We are living this in real time. And we saw, again, the news this morning, all over all the podcasts, all over all the news, and the headlines were, birthright citizenship. I think that every day, it's like, I think that there was a time, once upon a time, where it's like you would watch Meet the Press and people would talk about, the Sunday morning for like Wednesday, we were still talking about that. And the cycle that we are in right now is okay, there was, they're trying to push the big, beautiful bill that he's calling, right? And so then you have the other side, Democrats saying no. And then now we have a Republican who says, I will not vote for that. Why? Because of the cuts and the cost that this is going to be for my people, my taxpayers in my state. And so what we look at is, it's like, these are all really, really big deals that in a normal world we would be talking about for days. But we don't have that kind of a news cycle anymore. It's like, this is really, really big right now, 5 minutes, and then next 5 minutes is something, we're off to something bigger.
Something new.
And so it's like in this, where it's shocking our systems consistently. And we as educators, as human beings, as community members, right, we have to remember also that while we may not feel like we're moving as fast as we can, we have a system in place. So I just want to point out the gratitude that I have for your comment, Tina, about that. And then to your comment, Heather, about the fact that, I don't know, nobody knows exactly what to do. And so at least we do have an administration that is saying, yeah, let's have those conversations. Let's organize. And to that, I think that Delta College is doing really well right now with, at least, we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, that's 100%. True.
Yeah.
I feel that really deeply too, especially for like our LGBTQ plus community and our students, because oftentimes we, and I say we as in DCPC, find ourselves like feeling stuck, but then realizing, because we hear from other community colleges is saying like, wow, you guys have that? You guys have all gender restrooms? And we're just like, I guess we are doing a lot better than we think we are. So sometimes we have to like sit back and really recognize like we are really moving ahead at a good pace. And we are giving our students the best that we can for, whatever resources we have at the moment. And just giving ourselves grace. And I definitely believe that even with this work as well. So I completely agree with the sentiment from you, Tina, and you as well, Adriana.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that kind of like brings me into some of the other questions here. So as far as like our students go, like how do you feel our students have been letting us know like where they're at with everything that's been going on? How have you been getting that information? I think that's important to share, so that way if students listen to this, they can kind of understand how can I make sure that they know that this is something that I'm concerned about. Because that's ultimately why we're doing this is to support our students.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
100%.
I'll start. For me, it's just connecting. I just had an intake this morning, and a student literally said it was just you listening, because I had mentioned, I wish I had other pathways for you. The 3 pathways I had weren't the best in her situation, but the fact that she said, Miss Tina, you just listening means the world to them. So I had to stop myself. I see myself look at my computer like 5 times because I knew I had to get that email out. I had to get some work done, but I stopped myself and said, no, I need to plug in. So I think it's really important for us educators at all capacities to sit back and say, right now is such a sensitive time. We need to be able to check out and give that time, where before we would just kind of process, go, autopilot. Right now is not the time to be in autopilot. We need to stop and really hear them. I'm happy the student left encouraged, felt that Delta College as a whole, not just the Dreamer Center, was there for her at the capacity we were able to meet her at, right? And then students just being vulnerable to share their real life happening stuff with me in the Dreamer Center is so heavy, so emotional. Being able to like decompress before I go home is a big thing, but just being there for the student in that moment just speaks volumes, and it's going to help them. And just knowing your resources, knowing they have free legal advice, knowing our allies in the community, that just allows the students to like feel trust and feel like vulnerable, like they could be vulnerable with us. Yeah. And I could go into like other stories of students like self-deporting themselves and coming to me and say, Miss Tina, you know, I'm going to leave at the end of July, 1st of August because I need a self-deport because my visa time has expired and I'm not going to get an extension. And you could just see the anxiety and the heaviness on them, but just really being there for them in whatever capacity we can right here at Delta College. And I think everybody in Spark and outside of Spark has done that. Yeah. And I hope we continue that.
I think it's really important what you say. It's like ultimately the reason why Spark was formed is for the students. And so ultimately we do need to be continuing this work through listening to them. Exactly what is happening, how are they being effective? Because we could be watching the news and hearing all the things that are happening, and you don't think it's affecting us until you actually have that conversation with that student. Yes. And you ask them and they say, you know, this is what's happening, or this is what's happening with my family. Even though I'm documented, they're undocumented, I'm going to leave with them. We've had several cases of that with our students. Yes. And I just, another thing that I was thinking about that I thought was really, really important about Spark that I loved is that we have our acting chief of police at the table and looking at safety, not only for if ICE comes on the table, but also for our LGBTQ plus students, and just bathrooms and the locations and where, you know, people could, you know, easily, you know, I don't know, trying to eliminate the possibility of any kind of attacks or violence to our students, regardless, you know, of who they are. But I know that was one topic that came up was locks on the bathroom. Or why are they locked? Why are they not locked? Why, you know, and then line of sight. Are there cameras? Can we see in those spaces, you know, like if students do go down there to use that bathroom, are they going to be safe? Right. You know, so that was something I remember. And I think we're part of the safety team. Are we a part of the safety team?
I don't know. I don't know if you are, Heather.
I'm like floating. I go anywhere and everywhere. Wherever there's need, I will be there.
And we love you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. But I love this topic because it was in early January. I got an email that our Pride Center was hosting a response to the immigration conversations, and I went to that. It was, I want to say they hosted it. It was like 5 because it was early January and it was already kind of dark. And I went up there. I say up there because it's on the second floor of Danner here. And I just have to say I felt so privileged to be in the space and to hear from our students in their own words about their feelings, how they were feeling, and to hear the intersectionality through our students, right? Which is why I think that it's so important that as we do this work that we have representation from all the constituencies, from all the people, because we all have a different lens. But to hear the students say exactly what you're saying, Heather, my parents are undocumented. I am in a mixed status family, right? They're like, but I'm okay, but I'm going to go where my parents are going, or whatever the fear was, or students saying, "Listen, I'm Black and I'm transgender, and that's how it's affecting me." Right? Like, we cannot assume that this is only an issue for category X, right? You heard that I started this by saying like the CLF, Chicanx Latine, but this is obviously bigger than that group, which is why it extended and reflected our entire campus, because I think that's something that we really have to be mindful of as we go into these spaces, is that when we are talking about resources and things that we offer, we can't have in our minds who we're talking to, because we're so intersectional that the message needs to be to everybody, and then let people self-select where they're going to land and where they're going to feel most comfortable. But you're absolutely right that just listening to our students is the key here. Listening, creating that space. And I think that's where, as you talked about, Tina, our events, even our wellness event that we just hosted, we don't have the answers. I would love to say that we know exactly what to do, but we at least can say that in the midst of all of this chaos, self-care is part of the revolution. Make sure that you have water, that you have eaten, that you have rested, because that's one way that you can fight back. Like, we're not alone. And so in these systems that feel so oppressive, because they are, just recognizing that we are in these things together helps people to feel stronger.
Not to interrupt this great conversation, but we're going to take another quick PSA break and we'll be right back.
At San Joaquin Delta College, we believe education should be accessible to all. As a sanctuary campus, we stand with all our students, regardless of their immigration status. If you're an undocumented student or need immigration support, the Dreamer Success Center is here to help. They offer resources, guidance, and a network of support people to guide you. For more information or assistance, call 209-954-5731. Remember, you are not alone. We are in this together.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Remain focused on what you're doing. If safe to do so, exhale slowly, leaning to one side. Inhale back to center. If safe to do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Here at San Joaquin Delta College, we support you in pursuit of your educational achievements. A college education can provide more options for the future, but sometimes these options are, confusing. We are here to make the journey a little easier with comprehensive counseling services. Looking for help selecting the right courses for your degree? Need advice on different career paths? Are you in need of professional, emotional, or psychological support? Our counselors are here to provide as much guidance and support as you need during your academic journey. If you want to schedule a counseling appointment, call 209-954-5151. By scheduling a counseling appointment, you acknowledge that all counselors are mandated reporters who are bound by law to report harm to self or others and/or child or elder abuse. Remember, you are not alone. We are in this together.
This message is for Shauna, my mom, who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You told me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Thanks for sticking around and welcome back. Let's get right back into this conversation. Yeah. And it builds that trust too, because, when we're doing all this work and we're doing it for our students, we also want to be able to talk to them like regular human beings.
Nice.
And just whenever they see representation of like within themselves in staff and admins and all and our professors, they feel like they can connect, and that makes them feel safer, that makes them feel supported alone, like just that by itself. Yeah. And so when we actually talk to them and we show them like we're human too, and like we care about you and we want to make sure that you have the resources that you have, like it means so much. and it goes so far. And, like you were saying, just listening, like that really does matter. And I can say, for me personally, as a transgender man, anytime I am very upfront about that to students, they automatically they gravitate towards that. And they're like, wow, I can talk to this person. I can ask them questions about this or this. And that has happened more, in the past couple months because of, there has been more attacks on transgender people and non-binary people. And so I've been getting a lot of questions about like, can I still apply for a passport and things like that? Can I months ago when, there was all the talk about the restrooms, all gender restrooms, and how trans people need to use the ones that they, biologically belong to. We had a lot of students that were fearful, like, am I going to get in trouble if I go use this restroom? And so it's like things like that, like those kinds of conversations always are so important to have. And I really, really like just love how we are just such a mixed group of people and that we bring something different to the table.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I want to just acknowledge what Adriana was saying about the wellness. Not only the wellness for them, encouraging them to take care of themselves, we also have to take care of ourselves to decompress, to make sure we're taking care of ourselves so we're re-energized to take it on again the next day and then the next day. So, and I see this group that I sit amongst, they do that a lot. I could see when we need a checkout and we all like just, okay, she has a lot right now, we could pick it up. So
we just talked about that, right?
We just talked about that.
And I was out. Peace out. I practice getting lost these days.
Good.
Yeah.
We have to do that.
Yeah.
And then now you're on a podcast.
That's right.
Yes.
But that's all of us, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to take that. You're so right, because we can't be in this work all day, every day, and just in it. It feels like that's so exhausting.
It is.
You have to take that mental health break.
Yeah, and I'll say, I think with Spark, I think ultimately what I was just thinking and what you guys were speaking is this, like, if we're feeling the weight of thinking it's all on us, think about our students, right? I mean, that's ultimately what Spark and the conversations you're having with your students and that they may not have safe spaces in their own homes.
Right.
And so for them to come and have a campus with mentors, resource specialists, coordinators, instructors, and even the president to say, hey, we're here, we hear you, we see you, and we welcome you. We are here. That's the basis of what, yes, Spark is, but that's the basis of what essentially a community college is. I mean, that's
100%.
what we should be conveying, is the college is a space, a community college is a space where all community is accepted, and we are going to do everything in our ability to make sure you feel safe,
Yes.
you feel safe, and that you have the resources and the support. I mean, that's what the essence of what we're doing with Spark. I mean, that's what we should be doing on a daily, but this just ignited, no pun intended, but the Spark ignited this work even more.
Pun intended.
Yes. And so that's, I think is so important when I hear about we also can be seen as humans too. Like we can let down our hair and say, no, I see you, I feel you, I've been through this, I recognize this, how can I help you? I want to know what I can do.
I love that,
we're
Heather.
in the service agency. I mean, we're here providing services. We need to be doing that on a daily basis. Isn't because of the Trump administration comes on the attack. It's to be every day, be checking in and saying, okay, are you okay? Are you safe? How is your housing?
Yeah.
It's a humanitarian.
Yeah.
This is us. This is us being as humans and showing support, showing love.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not derailing this podcast.
No, you're not.
You're right on
You're-
point.
Heather, I was gonna jump in here with how so I told you December 17th there was a resolution, right?
Yeah.
That where our board of trustees, because our board of trustees feels this way as well.
Yeah.
We're saying, listen, California education means education for all.
Yes.
This was reaffirmed in April 15th. There was a second point that was specifically every individual has the fundamental right to their identity. This was a resolution reaffirming Delta's support of undocumented and LGBTQIA plus students. It is important to note that, as you said, Heather, these are not things that we're doing like outside of the norm, right? Like part of me, even we were having a conversation with Leo beforehand saying, as we prep for this podcast and, we are airing this podcast on Delta College Radio, that my hope really is that people recognize that what we're doing, this is advocating for education for all.
100%.
This isn't outside of what we do.
Yeah.
We are educators. We are educators. We are in the work of helping people access their community college, access their resources so that they can be successful, so that ultimately when everyone has an improved quality of life, our society is better. We're stronger. We're healthier. We have healthier families. We have send little kids to school. That's what we're in the business of. This isn't about preferential treatment for this group or for this group. This is about, you know what? In the state of California, we say education for all means all. What part of that do you not understand? All. Let's go.
Let's go. Yes,
Regardless
Exactly.
of age, color,
That's right.
Race,
sexual orientation, anything.
You want to come to
Education.
school? Let's go.
We're going to make it happen, and we're going
That's
to make
right.
sure you have all the supportive services to make that happen.
100%.
Exactly. Yes.
Love that.
And like again, so what kind of prompted doing this whole podcast to begin with was it's a national day of protest. So July 1st is Sick of ICE, Call Out Sick, right? So what does that mean exactly? So that means that it is a day to take action, is stand in solidarity for our immigrant neighbors. And by doing that, there's different ways you can participate, right? So we decided that we were going to make this podcast. That's our action, is to educate what we've already been doing here at Delta College and for our community in general. But other ways that you can do that is by going, so you can learn more by going to sickofice.org. That's the website where this is all shared out. This was started by grassroots activists. So, you can submit events if you're having your own. You can look at what other events are happening. There's community dinners that are happening, marches, banner drops, all kinds of different ways. You can download their posters and you can put them up in your windows. So just being a part of that movement. And really, for us, it's also just keeping that momentum going too, because it's so important. Like, we just don't want that momentum to die down. We want to keep moving forward, and that's why we also have like events that we're doing, like we've already said, at the Dreamer Success Center. It's bi-weekly. We'll have another one, I believe next Wednesday already?
Oh, I guess it is.
I think we
They're
should
coming
do
up
a-
fast.
We're planning it.
I think we should do
It's
a
happening.
community dinner.
Yeah,
That actually would be
community
really
dinner.
cool.
I love
would
that.
be
And
really
building
cool.
community,
And
eating
then have
together.
people bring in from their home country, whatever. They can do a potluck style. Or we can do Mike's Pizza. I don't know.
I say potluck style.
Yeah.
I love potluck style. I want
Potluck is
a little bit of
great.
everything.
That solidarity and
That
community.
is solidarity.
Breaking bread with
Breaking
each other
bread,
is like
yes.
another element.
Let's go, Heather. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's
I
plan
love
it.
it.
Next.
I like that.
Starving now.
I love it. And I love, Leo, that you recognize, right? Because, so we know, and that those of us in here in this room know that tomorrow is National Day of Protest. But as Heather rightly shared, there are a lot of people who don't know about
don't know.
this.
Yes.
There's a lot of people.
I was just
Campus.
texting some colleagues right now as you guys were speaking to let them know.
Yes. And when people don't know, that doesn't mean that we don't do the action. That means you still do the action, but you provide context, right? And that's why there's a pre-recorded message. That's why we're going to do a demonstration, much as we did for Immigrant Day of Action when we did that back in, what is that, February?
I think so.
I think that was
Yeah.
February 4th, I believe, which meant we put posters up on the president's patio, and it was letting people know why we weren't there, right? So that also means we'll put up a sign outside of our door to let people know why we're not there, because it's not about just taking a day off. It is action behind that. And I think that these are moments where, it takes me back to Dolores Huerta and her quote of like, everybody is an activist. Everybody, every single person can be involved in the cause. Like, what is the cause? The cause is for humanity. That's what we already talked about. Like, if you're down, you want to support people who want to have a right to feel safe, then we can do this together, right? And we can work together. And so I think that there are different points, as Tina talked about early on. We want to create entry points and exit points for people to get on and off with the mobilization as needed. Sometimes you would love to attend a protest, you simply can't because there's something going on. That doesn't mean you're not with the right. So there are different ways that one can support. You can support financially, you can support monetarily. Like there's so many different things. You can do that by sharing a story, reposting. Like, I mean, I know there's some people who believe, that whole click activism isn't real. It really is. I will say I love it. I love hearing other people sharing their stories. Diego Luna was recently on, he was on a night show, and he was talking about sharing his story. And he said, I am going to use my platform, right? Sometimes when you hear actors or musicians or sports people who have a big platform saying, and here was my story as well. I know that everybody has their own story, and no one should feel like you have to give that story away to anybody. But if you're so moved and you feel like you want to share a little bit about who you are, whether that's in a personal conversation or a more public platform, I think it's important to recognize that the more that we share, we create, much like a spark, a little bit more momentum for things to really catch fire, and ice melts with heat. So.
Yes, please.
Yes. I love that.
We need shirts.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I titled this Spark a Conversation.
So good, Leo.
I love that.
Love it.
Yes. But yeah, so I honestly, I love this conversation, and we've just like been moving through it like water, just like floating down in water. But other things that I really wanted to bring up is how can people support or get involved with Spark if they're not, because obviously not many people know. Like we have Know Your Rights posters that are still not up around campus as much as they need to be, but hopefully soon, because we did put a little deadline on them to do that. But how can we create allyship with anybody else who wants to be a part of it, who maybe can't be a part of those conversations? Like, how we meet, whenever things are urgent, or we have our subcommittees. If they can't necessarily be a part of that, how can they be involved in any way?
Okay, I will say, I'll offer my thoughts and then pass the mic. But here's what I think. I think that number one, just for context, if folks are listening to this and you're part of the Delta College community and you are in the work and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know about this. Here's what I want you to know. I want you to know that it was underground on purpose in the beginning, right? So in January, when we were having these conversations, we really thought we do not want to put a target on our students' backs. We don't want to put a target on the back of anybody who's doing good work. And knowing that there are people who are going to not see this as an education for all, but see this as a special treatment, which it's not, right? And so recognizing that, it was really kind of like, okay, well, let's just do what needs to get done. But in the current political climate that we're in, some of us say, let's be out loud about it, right? And so Tina and I had an opportunity to be interviewed recently by the Stockton Record and go on record, right? And I shared something very public about my story that I always say, nobody, you don't have to give your story to anyone. But the fact that I can today, as a 45-year-old woman, say out loud that I was at one time undocumented, is something that is a part of my history that I never would have said that when I was living it, because you live in fear. And now that I'm hearing about denaturalization for people, and I'm thinking, oh, how far back we going, right? Because if we're going back 10 years, does that count me? Like I literally, I think about this. I know so many people who were not born in this country, and they're thinking, okay, I've been here for 50 years. If all of a sudden, I know people who are in all phases, right? There was a time where I had a green card. Then, I was going through the process. I was going to my immigration appointments. I was going through all INS, all of that, right? And now I'm seeing and watching how people are going to those appointments and they're being targeted and being picked up. And so now they're not going to go to the appointments. And now you're going to get them on that. So you get them either way. And this is just such a horrible time to live in. And that is what gives me the power to say that I was an undocumented child. Because it is in those stories where if people see me today and they say, oh, you have this, you have that that was not always true.
Yeah.
And as I stated in that Record article, my quote was actually a quote by the Los Angeles Unified School District Superintendent, and his quote is, "Never doubt the power of an undocumented child, because they will grow up and they will change the world."
Amen.
Yes.
Love that.
And I love that, because it is
Yes.
true. We say today, oh, there's this person who isn't doing this. We have no idea. The gentleman who was captured by ICE while he was doing his landscaping outside of IHOP. And then now he's on the news network, or his son is rather. He has a son who is out of the military. He served, and he has two brothers who are in active duty. And so this man who came to this country 30 years ago and has been working quietly as a landscaper, does not have any kind of criminal record, and has contributed 3 sons to our armed forces. And then now people say, well, he should have gotten it fixed. Things are not as easy. When we say those things, please recognize the privilege with which you're so lucky to not know how difficult that is, the financial strain that it is up for people. And then outside of that, just the fear that people think, well, if I start that, then they're going to know. And so if I just keep my head low and I'm quiet and I just do this work and I just keep going, next thing you know, 30 years has gone by. So I'm not going to stand here and say that it's an easy thing, but I think if people speak their stories more and we share, then we can say, okay, well, if people come for me, I mean, literally, that's what I said after the article was printed. I said, well, I told on myself now. But I guess I'm also okay with that. I'm okay with knowing that I don't know what the ramifications are, and I don't feel entirely safe doing it.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. That's my lived truth. And so when I say that Spark started underground, it was because we didn't want to put a spotlight. But now we are out there. And we say, let's stand together.
Yes.
And if we stand together, as soon as I said that, Heather said, well, then, girl, you're gonna save me. She's gonna say, if they come for me, they're coming for her, and I know then they're gonna come for all of us.
For Tina too.
That's what I'm saying. And so
What did I say to you? I said I'll go to jail for you.
I go to jail for
And
all
she
y'all.
would. And she would.
And she
Love
would.
Heather.
And I love that.
Love her.
But I guess that's the point. So it's not that this belongs to one of us. This belongs to all of us.
Yeah.
This is all of us. We're all in this work.
Yeah.
And so if there's someone who listens to this and they're like, hey, I would like to get involved, I want you to know we want you to be involved. So reach out. I think that you'll start to hear more ways to be involved. I think that President Lawrenson has indicated that she's going to have Spark specifically sharing information at Convocation. And so I think that once the school year starts, you're going to see maybe more of a public presence for ways to get involved, and maybe those will look more formalized in the future. But please know that it hasn't been to slight anyone at all, that we're all in this work.
Yeah.
Yes.
United.
Yeah.
Do we have a website yet?
Coming up next.
Do we have
Hopefully soon.
an email?
Coming up.
There you go.
There we go.
But I will
We're
say,
building, we're
if
building.
you see anything out there as far as graphics, right?
Logo.
We have a logo. So if you follow digital media on Instagram, which is DMedia SJDC, you'll see there's a really cool little logo. It has like a colorful like fist, and it's like surrounded by I don't really know
By
how to.
flames.
Flames.
It's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
It's flames.
Yes.
So the original ideation came from a conversation. And then, of course, our amazing Heather Malloy was like, all right, because this is always, I mean, literally, if there's anything that it's amazing, Heather is going to connect. And she's going to connect and connect. And so Heather was like, oh, hold on. Let me take this to Professor Mario Moreno, who is a member of CLF and also a drawing and arts professor. And if you're on campus and you see the gorgeous mural outside of Tina's Dreamer Success Center or in other places on campus, including here in D-Media, know that that was more than likely the work of Professor Moreno. And so Heather went to Mario and says, Mario, we need this logo. And, and then next thing, she's giving him ideas, he's giving ideas, and then he gives a really beautiful version of it. And I think we're all in the meeting. And if I recall correctly, I think it was Tina Leal who was like, I love this. But can we have the rainbow, organized? Exactly.
Wings.
Yes.
Say that. Yes.
And so I
just
think
adds to it.
it's all of us, right? It's like,
All of us.
everybody putting their own vision into it, and then we have this collective vision, which is why I say it doesn't belong to one person. This is the work of everybody.
Yeah.
This is not work. Could you imagine if one person had to carry this?
Too much.
That's kind of what I think about now. Over like the last few days, I've really been reflecting on that in terms of like our board, in terms of our administrators, in terms of like, that feels like a lot, right? But it's not on them. I don't think any of us should rely on one single person to come in and fix this or save this or say, okay, I have all the answers. I mean, if anything, I'd be suspicious of somebody like that.
I mean, this goes to show you the power of the people. It's not just one entity that can make movement. It's the people that are actually doing the work.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no one else up there is not, but I'm saying the people that are ground level that are going to make the things happen. And it's sad because I'll say I myself didn't realize the power of a voice and something to this degree of what we've created. I always said, oh, they're going to take care of it. They're going to take care of it. Oh, those people getting 6 figures, they're going to take care of it.
You're right. And a lot of people think that way.
And I'm like, no, this is an example. And we're all from different spaces.
Right.
We have faculty, administrator, classified staff, front office, all the things, right? Student supportive services, we're all in this. And I think it's something just it goes back to even the student voice for those that are listening, that if you do want to be a part of it, you can be a part of it. You do not have to be sitting on the sidelines saying, oh, it's not happening to me. I don't need to be involved. Yeah, it involves you. It involves your family. It involves your friends, your neighbors, whether you are immigrant, whatever. And if you're LGBTQ plus, everybody has a target on their back. So you need to know and recognize to stand up for your neighbor, your sister, your brother, your mother, your aunt, your uncle. We're all in this together. And that's something that, and I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just uniting front. I mean,
you're right.
And it doesn't have to be from one level of space. It's all of us.
It's all of us. Exactly that. So it was that the onus of helping and doing the work isn't on one person. It's not on, we shouldn't expect someone to be an administrator and to have all the answers, right? They're there. And I think that we have a really healthy administration right now that's coming to us and saying, listen, we know this is an issue. What are you doing? What do you think
What can we do
together? And so I think this is a really good thing. We're at a good time. Yeah. And you're right, Heather, if we have any students listening, come to follow D Media, right, Leo?
Yeah.
Because he posts it all. And the Dreamers.
And
Darte.
Yes.
And let me add, like the administrators, their hands are so tied. When you're already making those 6 figures, you got all these legal policies that they have to follow. So when we get to like come together and like run with something, I know deep down they're thanking us. They're thanking us and they're like, okay, good. We got something rolling. Let's piggyback off of that. Let's see how we're going to do that. And then how can you contribute? Look out for our events. Look out for the workshops.
So next Wednesday, stay tuned. We'll have something fun happening somewhere here on campus.
If you follow us.
With some food.
With some food.
Yes.
But we want to make sure that staff, students, and faculty show up to these events because we're not just putting them on to put them on. We're doing it for the students, for the community. And what we want to do, and what I love to see in any event that I put on, when I see administrators and I see faculty standing around, that speaks volumes to our students because they could look around and say, oh, that's my professor. Oh my God, I know Leo from D Media. So they're putting these faces to their surroundings and now they're connecting. So that is building community. So please, when you see these events campus-wide or on social media, come and just plug in. And maybe it doesn't apply to you. Maybe it's not knocking at your door right now, but it's somebody that you know that's going to be affected in your church. Your, like Heather said, your neighbor. So whatever we could do, we're here to plug in and get feedback. I love feedback when we're having these events of things that you guys might, as students, want to see on campus. Just let us know.
Yes,
be a part
absolutely.
of the Spark community, people.
That's
right.
Let's
be
go.
the spark.
That's right. And I just want to give one shout out because we talked about her before we started, and I just don't want us to forget. So we want to shout out Vanessa Plaza.
Ooh, yes.
And her work bringing back Active Minds and doing the Wellness Wednesdays. Just really grateful for that work supported by Dr. Cordova with Student Services. It's really important to know that our mental health matters and that while that was our focus for our last Spark meeting or on campus, our summer meetings, that we really want to remind people that institutionally, there are also so many supports, which we did not even go into in this episode, because that's not what this one's about.
Right.
But institutionally, there are so many supportive services. And again, just shout out to Vanessa for all the work that she's doing.
Let me shout out Wednesday, July 16th, Stride and Thrive. They're going to have an event in the plaza from 10:30 to 12. They're going to have food.
We're tabling.
Come on out. We're tabling. Spark will be out there. So come on out.
Yes. And I just want to say once again that Spark is more than just the four of us in this room.
100%.
There's
so
definitely
many
more, but obviously we're not going to name
100%.
names because maybe some people don't want to be mentioned.
Exactly.
And that's totally okay.
Yes.
But we are here to be up front and to be vocal about what it is that we've been doing collectively. And before I kind of end this episode, I just want each of us to kind of go around, like Tina, just say, what kind of resources are available at the Dreamer Success Center? Where can people find you? What can people get connected to you for?
Okay. Sounds good. So Dreamer Success Center is the second floor of Holt Building 201. Open this summer. Hours are going to be from 8 to 5:30. Come on out. I'll be there. Fridays we are closed. Please note, Fridays we're closed. Legal services, free legal services. That's my big one. We got one-on-one counseling for our ESL and our Dreamer students. And then you have this wonderful resource specialist by the name of Tina Liao that's there to service you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. And then I am over in Shima 217. We're open 8 to 5. The services we provide is not only getting people enrolled into programs such as our DART learning community, which I failed to mention, that we're part of the Directing Adults to the Right Track for Employment. And so in that, students can actually be a part of coming back to school. We support them through also helping them enroll at the adult school. We work very closely with the Dreamer Success Center.
Yes.
We're going to connect them to employment services, any kind of supportive services, whether it's on campus, off campus. We have an amazing resource specialist, Jasenia Jimenez Sanchez. She is there with open arms, along with our other staff that's there. Every Wednesday, we have a Zoom option for those who want to know about our DART program, or some people call it DARTE. And come up and see me. Say hi.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah.
Adriana.
And here in D Media, I feel like we obviously offer classes. We're an instructional program, so radio, television, we run, Delta College Radio. But also we are primely located on the first floor corner building of Shima. And so people come here for all the things. They ask us for everything. They open our door and we will walk them to where they need to be. So anything else you need at Delta College, just come and say hello. We're here to support you.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to add one more thing
that
I am so passionate about, and I'm so excited. We have a meditation prayer room.
Yes.
That's just remodeled. It's open. Come out, decompress, just let it out. If you need to go, would it be pray or just sit in silence? It's just set up for you guys. Come out to the Dreamer Center, and faculty, staff, administration, everybody.
We've been asking for this.
Oh, yes.
We've been asking for this. And so knowing
I'm so
that
happy.
thank you.
Yeah, when they came to the Dreamer Center and said, do you have space? I was kind of like, I need that space because I use that room for my community, Catholic Charities, El Concilio, Little Manila. I had all these ideas. But then when they said, like a prayer room, a meditation, what do you think? I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. So I'm so happy that we have it. And I just appreciate Di Marmolejo. But it was supported by administration, and I'm glad we have it for the students.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that like walk-in only? Do students have to make appointments?
Nope. It's walk-in as long as the center's open, because there's only one staff there. So as long as the center's open, it's open to anybody. Usually the longest prayer I've ever seen was probably like 3 minutes. So people are in and out. They just come and do their prayer, and then they head out to class or whatever they're doing. So I'm just happy that Delta has that.
And who's the staff member that's on all the time? Tina? Miss Tina? Okay, just
that's Miss Tina.
You run that show, girl. You run
smile,
that.
great energy.
Appreciate
yes.
that.
And also, if you are listening to this and you are proactive on social media, they have social media as well. So you can always follow the Dreamer Success Center, literally at Dreamer Success Center on Instagram. And then for DART, you can follow DART at sjdc.dart, and that's DARTE. And you can follow us, digital media, at DMedia SJDC. So thank you, all of you, for joining us.
We love you.
Yes, I love you all.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this first episode of Spark, a Conversation. Yes.
The
Spark
Delta
with the homies. If there's one thing we know, it's that change doesn't happen without action, and action doesn't happen without accountability. Whether you're in the classroom, behind a desk, or in a position of power, you have a role to play in standing up for students. To learn more about Spark and how you can get involved, you can send us a message. We'll have more information on all of that, hopefully, in the coming semester. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's keep showing up. And above all, let's keep the spark alive.
Yes.
Good job, Leo.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Spark a Conversation has been a production of KWDC 93.5 LPFM Delta College Radio. This program is made possible by listeners like you. Programming is produced by the student, staff, and faculty of San Joaquin Delta College's Digital Media Department. It is supported by the Delta College Department of Arts and Multimedia, the Career Technical Education and Workforce Development Office, and the State of California. Thank you for listening.